I'm Heather McGrail from McGrail Vineyards and Winery, and this is our winemaker, Mark Clarin. Today we are going to tell you a little bit about the upcoming releases for our quarterly release coming up in August. We've got 3 new wines for you, our 2019 McGrail Family Chardonnay, and then we have our 2018 Malbec, and lastly we'll taste our 2017 Patriot Cabernet that's from our estate fruit right here on the property. So let's start off with the Chardonnay. Cheers, Mark.
Cheers.
From 6 feet away.
Yeah, I can't reach you.
It's got a nice straw color.
Yeah, lovely. I get a little vanilla in the nose.
I get a lot of pear, maybe white peach. There's definitely some of the citrus notes, kind of lemon, maybe lime. Pear really stands out, and some apple notes.
I definitely get the pear and the white peach. It smells wonderful. Vanilla.
It tastes as good as it smells, but then it also has that little bit of creaminess, which, how much malolactic did this wine see?
This is about 70% malolactic, like the family Chardonnay is, year in and year out. I think we nailed it. It's got some creaminess, but the fruit is really there.
Yeah, it stands out.
It has some nice acidity, and the finish is nice and clean. Right? I mean, that's why I think the acidity's right. It doesn't just sit in the back of your throat and get all cloying like sweet wines do sometimes.
Yeah, and there's no burning. It's
no
really
burning,
nice.
no, very smooth. What would you pair this with?
Chicken marsala, I think maybe salmon. Because of the creaminess and the touch of acidity, I was thinking some kind of salad like butter lettuce with crisp green apples and some blue cheese.
That would be great, and you could even throw a little chicken on there or something,
Yeah.
Or salmon or prawns maybe.
That would be good, kind of like a lemon wine-based prawn dish with some zucchini noodles. Brie cheese would be amazing.
Yeah, I would like a Gouda.
Ooh, Gouda would be good too. What if you did like a brie and then you topped it with one of our Terrapin Ridge, the peach bourbon sauce on top of that?
Yeah.
That would be really nice with this.
Definitely.
I could also just drink this by itself though.
I agree. I'm really enjoying this.
It is really good.
I think it's delicious.
I agree. All right, you ready to move on to Malbec?
Yes.
Mom's favorite, mom's being Mark's mom's favorite.
Right. So the 2018 Malbec, I just went and visited my mother for the first time since March.
Did you bring her some Malbec?
And I brought her some Malbec. So I can't get in the door anymore without sending her some Malbec. But deep red.
Yeah, it's almost purple, but it's
yeah.
got that bright, kind of bright red on the outside.
It has a nice bright fruit. When I compare it to the Cab happened to pour already. This one's got a little bit brighter color.
Get a lot of smoky toasty, which I don't really remember in past vintages.
Yeah, this is definitely a blueberry, dark berry fruit.
When we started, we were only making Cab and Chardonnay, and then we made a few other whites with the Rosé and Sauv Blanc. So we only had Cab in the house for reds, and once we started making Malbec, I felt like this was the perfect summertime red wine, which we'll see when I taste it. But it always has such bright fruit, so complex. I like that little bit of toastiness, and then it's usually has such an elegant finish that makes it really easy to drink on a hot summer day.
I think you described it before we even drank it. It's a great summertime red. You know how blueberries compared to raspberries are a little smoother flavor?
They don't have like the tart finish, yeah.
Right. Just very, very smooth.
Even smelling this, like I just want to, beg Lena to make us a blueberry cobbler. You get that little bit of doughiness.
Yeah, a little yeast. There's probably a little bit of a yeasty characteristic to it. The fruit comes through in the flavor big time. Just a really nice blueberry. There is a little bit of maybe black raspberry or something like that in the flavor profile. But then super smooth, very smooth tannins, which I really like. That's I think why my mom likes this wine so much, because it's kind of like the stepping stone to bigger, bolder Cabernet. Beautiful fruit flavors, very, very smooth wine, and it finishes clean.
It's so good. It's easy to drink. The biggest problem with this wine, because the finish is so easy to take down,
Yeah,
the bottle is going to be gone too quick.
Right.
You're not going to even think that you finished a bottle of wine.
Probably.
It's easy drinking for sure.
I'm getting just a hint of vanilla in the finish too. Just a hint from the oak, you know. On the Malbec I use more experienced oak. And because it's my mom's favorite, I have to use European oaks. But they are experienced, so they're not as impactful, but they're elegant, definitely. I mean, it's definitely an elegant wine.
Yeah, this is nice. I think that this one, I mean, it has enough meat to it that you could stand it up to any meat dish,
Oh,
but
of course,
I feel like I would do something like a turkey burger or maybe a pork dish.
Absolutely. I mean, I was even thinking like a blue cheeseburger. You know, if you get those real lean, you know, when you go to a place like Range Life or something where they get really good high quality meat. I loved your thought on earlier about blue cheese, and I love blue cheese, so I could see a blue cheeseburger with this wine for sure.
I was even thinking like barbecue pulled pork
That would be great
on little
too.
Hawaiian rolls.
Oh my God, that would be
Wouldn't that be good?
really good, yeah.
I think the sweetness of the barbecue sauce with that little bit of smokiness, but the smokiness kind of blows off.
Wow, you know, make the wine, of course, and then, you know, we get it in the bottle, and that's fairly stressful. And this has been in the bottle for a couple months now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the first time I'm tasting it, actually, really. Very pleased.
Me too. I think it's
very pleased
delicious.
with it. Yeah, I'm so pleased with it.
So with the Malbec, this one is 100% from our Lucky 8 vineyard.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And we do use some of this Malbec fruit from Lucky 8. We actually pick early to make part of our rosé with. But the red Malbec that we keep, we let that fruit hang longer.
Well, it's kind of cool too because we have 2 clones of Malbec in the vineyard, but it's really obvious because one of the clones, the canopy doesn't grow very much, but it hangs a lot of fruit. And the other one has a huge canopy and it hangs less fruit. But the shorter shoot Malbec makes better red wine. So we crop thin. In fact, we're doing that today.
Oh, good.
We're crop thinning the Malbec as we speak. But we don't crop thin the rosé because we're going to make rosé out of it. And so it all ends up working out. But it's just really kind of an interesting thing as we, you know, kind of inherited Malbec when we bought the property, right? In a good way. I mean, I really like this wine a lot.
I do too. I think it's great.
The good news about the situation we are in with the shelter in place is I have my crush chemical order done, I have my barrel order done, I have my press serviced already, my distemmer's been serviced. Yeah, I feel like, you know, give me a day of just moving things around and hosing things down and cleaning everything up and we'll be ready to rock. So I feel really good about where we are with that. So
That's awesome. Good. Well, I'm excited about the Malbec. And now let's taste our 2017 Patriot Cabernet. So as most of you guys know, this has been one that's been one of our original wines. So we started with just our Cab Reserve, then we added Chardonnay, and then our next wines were the Patriot, Good Life, and James Vincent. And so Patriot has always been our wine for a cause. We do a different patriotic fund that we donate to every year. It's always been a crowd favorite. It's 100% new American oak. It's kind of fun how it started because we didn't know it was going to be 100% new American oak. When the 4 fallen officers in Oakland back in 2009 were killed in the line of duty is when we started the Patriot wine. And we had my dad and a few of his friends that were retired law enforcement taste a couple different trials. They weren't all 100% American oak, but the one that they picked was the 100% new American oak. And so that's what brought the whole patriotic theme with it. And we used those really cool U-stave barrels from Seguin Moreau. So if you've ever seen the inside of a barrel, you know, it kind of goes like this, the staves, but the U-staves actually cut in to add a little more oak influence. I'm excited for Patriot. I haven't tasted this one yet at all, so what do you think, Mark?
well, so far I did spend a little bit of time on the nose, but with the color, dark red. It's a year older than the Malbec, but it's still got bright. I feel like it's a youthful looking wine. You know, I don't see any brown on the edges or anything, so nice garnet.
Yeah, it's a deep garnet. It's pretty. It's interesting though, like the minute I kind of move it around, you see a lot more red, where when I do it with the Malbec, you see a lot more kind of purple tone.
Right.
So it's pretty cool to see the difference, because when you look at them like this, I mean, it's a red wine, right?
Right.
It's hard to tell. But
And a dark red wine.
yeah,
so
a dark
Pinot
red wine.
Noir versus, yeah.
Exactly. But the red, the garnet red color in here is beautiful.
On the nose, you would think that vanilla would be jumping out of the glass because it's American oak and all that, 100% American oak. But what I'm getting is like a licorice, like an anise, very bright. I feel like, I'm at the movie theater, Good and Plenty's and all that stuff.
Yeah, I get kind of the woodsy, smoky, campfire.
There is a toasty oak for sure.
So you always with our cabs, you get that cherry, the cassis. I mean, you can't not have that.
It's a s'more in a glass again.
Yes. The more air gets in there, the more I get that vanilla popping out.
Right, it's coming out for sure. It's there. And then the fruit is, you mentioned cassis. That's a really great descriptor for this wine.
Whenever I get that anise, it's like a sweeter blackberry, right? Like it's that in between cherry and blackberry. I love it.
You love this Patriot? I love this Patriot. The fruit, definitely dark cherry cassis. My mouth is watering after tasting this wine. Like it just literally I'm like, I want to go back for another visit. It just really gets everything going. I think the vanilla comes through in the flavor too. What amazes me about the Patriot and the Good Life and the James Vincent and our Cabernet up here on the hillside is how much these are all wines that are aged for 30 months in brand new oak barrels. So in other words, we're just giving them as much flavor as we can. I've tasted a lot of wines in my lifetime where it's like too much oak, too much oak, too much oak. And every time I get fearful, because as a winemaker, you always want to make the best product you can. I'm amazed at how integrated all the flavors are on this wine. I don't think this wine is over oaked. I think there's so much more going on with the actual, because the fruit quality has this intensity. And it was something that I learned when I was in Bordeaux, because when I went to Bordeaux and tasted in the chateaus, everything was 100% new, oak. But the wines were not over oak. Like it was like this, like lots of fruit. In fact, the oak helps bring the fruit out.
It elevates the fruit big time.
It's crazy.
I agree. I've never thought of our wines as over oak. Maybe it's our farming technique and how we drop a lot of fruit and limit our watering to get more concentrated
Intensity,
yeah.
And I think the hillside is special. This hillside vineyard, there's something about the soils and the exposure and the way we farm, and we're using high quality barrels and all that, everything. And we sort, right? And we end up with this delicious glass of wine.
It is really good. So the finish on this though, I mean, I know you kind of brought it up when you took that first sip. You can't miss the finish on the Patriot. I mean, this is big, bold, chewy, not over the top, but in comparison to the Malbec that just kind of slides down super easy.
Right.
This one you taste, I mean, I'm still tasting and I haven't had a sip in a few seconds.
Right.
You're not going to forget about the Patriot. What would you pair with something so bold?
This is where I feel like you need to start cutting into a New York or a filet or...
I was going to say filet.
Yeah.
Really nice filet with a lot of butter.
Filet's my favorite cut.
Stacy and Eleanor are vegans on staff. I think that if you got a really hearty portobello mushroom burger with some balsamic vinaigrette, I think that would also pair really well. And I'm sure they have a lot of other suggestions, but that could work with this as well.
I totally agree. If you're vegetarian, you can go with cheese or something like that, right? So that's always kind of a no-brainer. And that portobello mushroom, I think, is a great substitute for, steak. Abalone would be delicious, but that's not vegan either.
Something like aged Parmesan or an aged Gouda, a hard cheese, would go really well with this one.
I was trying to remember that I said anise.
Yes, there's a lot of anise.
It just, especially in the nose, especially early on.
Going to your coffee analogy, you always use like, this is black coffee.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And then we've got the Malbec, That one has
With
some cream added.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then the Chardonnay, well, there's tea.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a big, bold wine.
This is a big gold wine. And just like every year, this is the perfect campfire s'mores wine.
For sure.
You do get that kind of caramelized, toasty marshmallow, the dark chocolate notes, the little bit of doughiness for the graham cracker, one of those Ghirardelli chocolate squares, the caramel one, caramel and sea salt.
It's another wine I could just sit here and drink, though.
Agreed. I think it's delicious. We are so excited to share our August quarterly wines with you guys. So coming soon, we can't wait for you to enjoy them and let us know what you think and let us know what you pair them with.
All right.
Cheers!
Skål.